My name is Ken Davidian, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 6 of Organization Theory in Space. This video series is based on the Oxford Handbook of Organizational Change and Innovation, 2nd edition, edited by Marshall Scott Poole and Andy Van de Ven. Today, we'll be getting an overview of the 5th major part of the handbook on the topic of hybrid change process models. This part of the handbook includes 5 chapters from 22 to 26, and we'll talk briefly about each of them. Let's get started. Chapter 22 describes the micro-foundations of innovations as a process. It uses the cumulative synthesis work of Abbot Payson Usher, dating back 1 century. Usher gives many very detailed examples of how novelty results from many individual and small innovations that accumulate over a long period of time to create an innovation of greater importance. Chapter 23 is a very important chapter entitled Diffusion of Innovations. This chapter shares the same title with the famous textbooks authored by Everett Rogers, with the 5th and final edition published in 2003. This topic covers how new innovations are effectively spread or diffused into society and how society decides to adopt certain innovations. This topic is important because of its direct relevance to the valley of death that defense and space industry practitioners talk about all the time. For now, all I have time to tell you is that diffusion of innovations research and practice paradigm has seen considerable evolution in theory and method over the decades. I can hardly wait to talk more about this chapter in Season 2 of OT in Space, but that's all I have time to say right now. Chapter 24 is entitled Processes of Emergence and Change in Industry and Ecosystem Infrastructure. Larger organizational structures like ecosystems are based on social hierarchies, as I've been showing you at the end of the most recent videos in this series. These systems rely on a set of resources and elements we call industry infrastructure. This infrastructure is not limited to physical systems of transportation, ports, electrical grids, and other things we commonly think of when we hear the word infrastructure. Industry infrastructure elements fall into 3 broad categories of institutional arrangements, resource endowments, and proprietary functions. Chapter 25 discusses the many ways that interorganizational networks change, including evidence of all 4 change motors at work. The linear evolution of networks are examples of the life cycle motor, and the way organizations change to improve their fitness in a landscape is an example of the evolutionary motor. Leadership often identifies goals that induce interorganizational change, and that's an example of the teleologic motor, and dialectic change occurs when organizations work to resolve tensions created by the intersection of multiple demands. Finally, the full title of Chapter 26 is The Becoming of Change in 3D, Dialectics, Darwin, and Dewey. The chapter views the dialectic motor as the basis of general social relations because dialectics views the world as in a continuous state of becoming, a work in progress rather than a final product. The chapter talks about the rise of pragmatism, which says ideas are things to be discovered, but their importance lies in their influence on future events and as tools to cope with problems and to promote social change. Finally, the potential of these becoming perspectives, which includes evolutionary theory and pragmatism in addition to dialectics, is far from being exhausted. So, when we take a look at how these chapters fit into the social system hierarchy levels chart that I've been showing, we see that these later parts of the handbook are starting to fill in the interorganizational sections of the chart. This makes sense because the higher levels of social systems include multiple organizations at multiple levels, so the change motor descriptions would be equally more complex. I'll be interested to hear from you if you think I'm putting the correct chapters at the correct levels in the hierarchy. So, how does all this apply to the space sector? Well, I could talk about this for hours, really. But really, I think these chapters give us strong ideas about what models we can use to help analyze and ultimately try to predict where specific industries and industry segments within the space sector are going. Well, that's it for this time. But next time on OT in Space, we'll be giving an overview of the last of the 7 handbook parts. This one discussing the core aspects of all the things we've been talking about until now. Until then, I hope you found this material interesting, and if so, please subscribe or hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss what comes next. OT in Space is produced by Impossible Research, LLC. Impossible Research, or IRL, mainly conducts process research on the topics of innovation and industry emergence within the context of commercial space industries. IRL also offers research consulting and STEAM outreach. This video is intended for educational purposes only.